Our story instantly kicks off with Haruka, the ultimate high school loner who secretly thinks all his classmates are complete bastards, quietly reading his novel in class. But little did he know his unbelievable fate was about to begin. Just then, a massive glowing summoning circle traps the entire room, and while everyone is shocked, Haruka instantly recognizes this as a classic fantasy world summoning. So he desperately tries to escape through the door, but when he grabbed the handle, the door was slammed shut from the outside with such force that even the strongest guy in class couldn't break it open, and the glowing circle grew brighter and wider, swallowing the room in light, and one by one his classmates began disappearing, their bodies fading as if erased, and fear finally hit him like cold water. And in desperation, he ran to the ventilation shaft, trying to escape through it, crawling inside like a cornered animal. But the circle appeared there too, chasing him like fate itself, and his luck betrayed him. And before he could even curse properly, the light swallowed him whole, and he was ripped away into a world of pure white emptiness. And when he opened his eyes, he stood alone in endless brightness, looking around nervously and calling out to see if anyone was there, wondering if some god or king or even a beautiful princess would appear like in the stories. But instead, he saw an old man wandering nearby, speaking in a strange language, and somehow Haruka understood him, and the old man urgently explained that all his classmates had already gone ahead, and he needed to hurry and choose a skill before being sent to the new world. And in front of him appeared a massive board filled with incredible abilities, glowing with power, but as his eyes scanned the list, his excitement died, because every good skill had already been taken by his classmates.
What the hell?
And all that remained were strange, useless leftovers, and he angrily complained to the old man, asking what kind of joke this was, but the old man looked flustered, panicked even, and in the confusion he forced all the remaining skills onto Haruka at once before sending him away. And in the next blink, Haruka found himself in a forest, stunned, muttering that he never even wanted to come here, and as he stood there unsure what to do, he noticed a bag lying in front of him, and when he opened it, he realized it belonged to some basic villager type filled with simple clothes and storage space that seemed endless like a magical pocket. And though he wasn't impressed, he put on the outfit and checked his status screen, and the system told him to roll a dice, and when he did, he got 2 mysterious marks, confusing him even more. But eventually he chose to increase his luck, only to discover his luck was already maxed out, and along with a pile of useless abilities, he also had 2 strange extra traits that prevented him from forming parties or bonding with pets or creatures, meaning he was doomed to be alone again even in this world. And he sighed bitterly, joking to himself that maybe he'd die alone here too. But after a moment, he shook off the thoughts and decided survival mattered more. So he searched for shelter, pushing through thick trees, worried that monsters like goblins could attack him if he slept outside. And then he remembered the contact lenses he had received, and when he put them on, the world sharpened, and he could see the status of everything around him, which amazed him quietly. And he gathered mushrooms along the way before finding a clear river flowing with cold water that tasted pure like mountain streams. And nearby, he discovered a cave, carefully entering it while staying alert for danger. But finding it empty, he set up camp, lit a fire to scare monsters away, and before sleeping, checked his status again, noticing some skills had leveled up and he had gained fire magic and monster tracking abilities. And the next morning he woke up alive, realizing the traps he set had worked. And though hungry, he cooked mushrooms, telling himself the world wasn't so terrible. And later, he ventured out again, gathering herbs and exploring deeper until he encountered goblins, fear gripping him as he hid in bushes, checking their stats and realizing they were strong, but understanding that if he wanted to survive, he would have to fight. And with trembling hands, he enhanced his stick and charged forward, knocking one goblin down, defeating another, and finally using magic to kill the last. And as evening fell, he washed by the river, feeling the strange pride of surviving his first battle, returning to his cave, leveling up to level 2, enchanting his stick further, and the next day craving meat instead of mushrooms, practicing magic to grow stronger, defeating more goblins, sometimes fleeing when outnumbered, sometimes winning by sheer luck. And over time, he crafted furniture for his cave, trained relentlessly, and became strong enough to defeat goblins in a single strike, decorating his little home as if trying to convince himself this lonely life was enough, until one night he caught a rabbit and laughed at the thought of finally eating meat. But then he sensed people nearby, and his heart tightened when he realized his classmates had arrived too, including familiar faces from school. And for a brief second he considered joining them, thinking maybe companions would make survival easier, but then the old loneliness whispered in his ear, reminding him that here he was free from orders, free from expectations, and he decided to stay hidden, slipping into bushes as they approached. But one of the boys heard something and began searching nearby, and Haruka's heart pounded so loudly he thought it might give him away, and he cursed himself for getting lost in thought, watching as the boy stepped closer closer and closer, nearly discovering him behind the bushes. And in that fragile moment, with the forest silent and his breath trembling, Haruka realized that even in another world, even after surviving monsters and magic, the hardest thing for him might still be facing other people. And from here, nothing in his quiet, lonely life would ever be the same again. And just when Haruka thought he was about to be discovered, when his heart was pounding so loudly he could barely hear anything else, the same rabbit he had caught earlier suddenly burst out from the bushes, darting past everyone in a panic, and the boys immediately assumed that the rustling sound had been caused by the rabbit all along. And with a few annoyed grumbles, they turned away and left, and Haruka slowly let out the breath he had been holding, whispering to himself in relief that he had narrowly escaped being caught. And later he quietly followed from a distance as the group gathered near a river where one of the loud delinquents sat bragging, while Haruka stayed hidden, telling himself he had nothing to do with those scoundrels, yet unable to stop his curiosity from pulling him closer just to hear what they were saying. And he overheard them talking about the girls from class in a disgusting way, praising their looks, whispering about who was attractive, making crude comments as if this new world had given them permission to behave however they wanted. And Haruka's jaw tightened in anger, as he thought that if they even tried anything bad, someone strong from class would surely stop them. But then one of the boys in a yellow outfit laughed confidently and said they could do whatever they wanted now because of their powerful skills. And with that twisted confidence, they began heading toward the girls. And Haruka felt a strange mix of disgust and relief as he decided to walk away, convincing himself again that living alone was better than getting involved in their mess. And when he returned to his cave and checked his status, he noticed his loner skill had leveled up, which both amused and saddened him, wondering if avoiding everyone had strengthened it. Yet at the same time, his confidence felt lower because of strange titles like Master of None and Dummy, which made him doubt himself, though he admitted he could still manage his tasks just fine. And over the next few days, he improved his cave further, eating mushrooms, sleeping alone, surviving quietly, until one night about a week later, he woke to the sound of fighting outside, sharp noises cutting through the darkness. And when he stepped out cautiously, he saw several of his former classmates battling goblins near the forest, struggling despite being stronger than him on paper, and he almost laughed at their trouble. Debating whether to help, then using his appraisal skill, he saw they were much higher level than him with impressive classes and gear, which reminded him painfully of how back in school they were always the talented ones, the popular athletes and smart students, while he had just blended into the background. And thinking they would manage fine, he began to leave. But then he noticed two goblins sneaking up behind them, and something inside him shifted because he remembered that these particular classmates had always treated him kindly in school. So without overthinking, he rushed out from hiding, attacking the goblins and knocking them down before they could strike, asking if they were okay as they stared at him in shock. And once the battle ended, they thanked him sincerely and followed him back to his cave, where they were amazed at how he had turned it into a comfortable home, almost like a small mansion carved into stone, asking if he built it alone. And he shrugged casually, joking that he had no one else to rely on. And while sharing mushrooms, he asked what had happened to everyone else, and their expressions darkened as they explained that after arriving in this world together, the class had initially stayed united, shocked but hopeful. Some girls worried about how they would survive without their normal lives, some boys complaining about losing internet and games, while the responsible students tried to calm everyone and explain their skills. But soon, the delinquents began threatening others for information, and chaos grew when goblins attacked, forcing them to fight together and move to the riverside, where the responsible group organized tasks and set up tents to survive. Yet some girls refused to work and wandered off, the delinquents leveling up quickly and secretly, gaining charm abilities that could manipulate others, planning horrible things like enslaving girls or taking multiple wives, and the responsible classmates overheard these plans and tried to strengthen themselves to stop them, eventually confronting the delinquents just as they attempted something unforgivable, driving them away from camp. But those boys returned stronger and even burned the tents in revenge, causing tension within the remaining group. And eventually, the responsible students were blamed and forced to leave despite having done nothing wrong, and hearing all this made Haruka's chest ache with sadness. So he offered them mushrooms and shelter for the night, telling them to rest and eat. And the next morning, they prepared to leave again, inviting Haruka to join them in searching for a town near the river to become adventurers. But he quietly refused, saying he couldn't come, watching them walk away while something heavy lingered in his heart. And later, he decided to check on the others and followed the footprints to the old campsite, finding it abandoned and destroyed, using his tracking skill to follow fresh signs until suddenly, 3 girls from his class ran toward him in panic, spotting him and calling his name. And instinctively, he tried to run, but when one of them begged him to stop with trembling voice, he hesitated, and they asked if he knew where the responsible students were, insisting they wanted to apologize because without them, they would have died. And as they cried sincerely, asking him to teach them how to survive until they could find the others, something strange activated within him, and a hidden skill triggered, binding the girls to him as servants, which horrified him because he never wanted control over anyone, and when he tried to walk away, they followed silently, unable to resist his authority, obeying him without question. And this upset him deeply because he had chosen loneliness to avoid responsibility. Yet now these girls killed monsters for him, handed over crystals like loyal pets, and when he he noticed one of them injured, he quickly gave her medicine with genuine concern, feeling confused and troubled as he realized that even when he tried to live alone, this world kept tying him to others in ways he never expected. And deep down, he wondered if perhaps, no matter how much he insisted he was a loner, fate would keep pushing people into his quiet life until he had no choice but to face what he had been running from all along. And when Haruka gently held out the medicine to the injured girl, expecting her to quietly apply it to her wound, she suddenly threw it back at him in panic, as if even accepting help from him felt wrong. And he froze, confused and flustered, thinking that if the strict class rep ever saw him surrounded by girls like this, he would be scolded into the ground. And just as that anxious thought crossed his mind, he heard a familiar voice calling his name from behind, and his whole body stiffened as the class rep herself appeared, stern and sharp-eyed as always, calling out to him again and again until he snapped out of his thoughts, awkwardly responding and pretending everything was fine, trying to hide his nervousness while asking why she was shouting like that. And she immediately noticed the strange atmosphere, the exhausted girl standing strangely close to him, and she corrected him for calling her class rep like some distant stranger when they had known each other since childhood. And while they were talking, more girls arrived, drained and tired, and she spotted Shimazaki and the others following Haruka like shadows, standing there blankly as if under some spell. And when she saw one girl staring blankly, she demanded to know what had happened, suspecting something terrible. And Haruka felt trapped, knowing how it looked, so with trembling honesty, he explained everything, how a skill had activated on its own and bound them to him without his intention. And she scolded him harshly for using skills on humans instead of monsters, especially innocent girls, and he defended himself desperately, saying he hadn't chosen it and didn't even understand how it worked. But now all the girls began looking at him strangely, some blushing, some whispering, and the tension overwhelmed him so badly that he excused himself and tried to walk away. But the girls stopped him, teasing him for trying to abandon them, and he muttered that he had always lived alone and would continue to do so, while the class rep snapped Shimazaki back to her senses and demanded the truth directly from her. And Haruka seized that moment to slip away, telling them to do whatever they wanted as long as they left him alone. But loneliness quickly became boring again, so he tried practicing magic to distract himself, thinking he should at least build a basement or improve his home. But his magic misfired, and he ended up half buried underground until the class rep dragged him out and apologized, explaining that Shimazaki had told her he only tried to help, and all the girls awkwardly thanked him too, though when he casually said he would just return to his own house, they exploded in disbelief, asking how he could abandon them here. And when he admitted he had built a proper house, they were stunned, imagining some tiny hut, but learning he had enough space for hundreds if he rearranged things. And soon they were wide-eyed with amazement at the thought of furniture, proper rooms, even mats, while they had been stuck in tents, and the class rep shyly asked if they could stay the night at his place. And his mind nearly short-circuited, imagining so many girls in his house, yet he awkwardly agreed, leading them through the forest at a brisk pace that left them exhausted by the time they reached his cave home. And when they saw it, they stared in awe at how cozy and well-built it looked, whispering about how impressive he was, some even joking about marrying him. And though he pointed out where the restroom was, none of them listened and rushed to bathe, stripping down without care, and he turned red and fled outside to sit in a tent instead, overwhelmed by embarrassment. And later the class rep quietly thanked him for saving the girls and giving them shelter when others had abandoned her, admitting she felt useless in this world, and he gently told her it wasn't her fault. And that night he lay awake imagining them sleeping peacefully inside, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. And the next morning one girl was already awake cooking, climbing on top of him playfully to wake him, teasing him until he sputtered in embarrassment, only to brighten when she handed him a freshly caught fish, tears almost forming because he had failed so many times to catch one himself. And when he admitted fish always slipped from his hands, she demonstrated catching them by sending a small electric current through the water, and he watched carefully before using his packing skill to store that magic and replicate it, unlocking lightning magic for himself in the process. And soon the girls were laughing and splashing in the river, while he explained that with practice they could all learn elemental magic too. And when they discussed their next move, some insisted on finding the responsible classmates to apologize. Others wanted to head to town, so he offered to help them level up first, asking their levels one by one, and his heart sank, hearing numbers like 16, 32, 36 while he himself was stuck at 7. But he encouraged them to fight goblins hiding nearby, only for the girls to get beaten badly because they hadn't expected sharp blades. And they returned to his tent frustrated, crowding inside while he complained about his lost privacy. Yet together, they formed a strategy and trained under the class rep's guidance, though some girls lazily made excuses to avoid fighting until monsters suddenly attacked and forced them into action. And together, they finally defeated them, cheering proudly, and Haruka thought maybe soon he could enjoy his freedom again. But immediately the class rep thanked him and assumed he would accompany them to town. And before he could refuse, they were already packing. And elsewhere in the forest, a terrified boy ran through a storm only to be caught and strangled by a ruthless man, a chilling reminder that danger was spreading. And as Haruka led the girls toward town, he silently vowed to protect them from the delinquents at any cost. But on the way, they encountered a powerful level 11 orc, and he told the girls to stay back and watch carefully, charging forward only to realize physical attacks were less less effective. Recalling that magic was better against such foes, searching his skills and discovering grand magic that could combine elements. Yet before he could test it, the orc attacked fiercely, forcing him to dodge in panic until anger flared, and he struck it down with sheer force, shocking everyone. And when another orc appeared, he unleashed fire magic and killed it swiftly, leaving the girls staring at him in disbelief, calling him too strong. And that night, while they camped, he quietly set traps with earth magic and used perception skills to guard them, even from inside his tent. Checking his map with his contact lenses to find the fastest path to town until his perception alerted him to approaching figures, and he tensed expecting delinquents, but instead saw familiar boys from class who joked that he hadn't changed, and the class rep overheard and questioned them sharply about their intentions, suspecting they might also be chasing girls, but they insisted they were searching for him, and when asked why they were avoiding the girls, they admitted they no longer trusted anyone because someone possessed an even more dangerous skill than charm or puppet, a skill called hijack. And when Haruka heard that word, something heavy settled in his chest as he realized the real threat in this world might not be monsters at all, but people hiding powers that could steal control itself. And yet, strangely, when they hinted that if he had such a skill they would feel safe, he could only blink in disbelief, wondering why they weren't afraid of him at all. Everything seemed to be moving forward normally, and yet beneath the surface, tension was quietly building. Someone suddenly asked in disbelief if he truly possessed that rare skill, and he brushed it off lightly, saying he had only mentioned it casually, but they insisted they had come to warn him and told him to stay alert while they kept watch over the dueling queens, asking him to tell class rep and the other girls they were simply apologizing, wishing him luck before leaving, unaware that class rep had overheard everything and was now wondering who among them held the hijack skill. The next morning, Haruka calmly told the girls they would be leaving the forest that day, urging them to prepare, and as they gathered their things, class rep approached him quietly and asked if they could talk, gently confronting him about the Isaac skill he possessed. Surprised, he admitted it was supposed to be a secret between him and the nurse, but she explained she had discovered it and even mocked how unaware he had been, then asked if he feared her knowing, and he replied there was nothing to fear. She explained that hijack was dangerous because it allowed someone to steal another's abilities, though only by killing them. Yet she wasn't afraid because the nurses had sealed other students' puppet and jam skills, but had not sealed his, believing he would never misuse it, and she told him she trusted him completely, which made the class cheer with renewed energy as they set off towards Mount, pausing at a rest point along the way. Haruka jokingly offered berries for sale, but one girl said they had no money, and another shyly suggested trading something else instead, which made him agree before class rep scolded him sharply, causing him to panic and give the berries away for free, leaving the girl disappointed as she had only wanted juice. They laughed and continued onward, while Haruka used his contact lenses to scout for a campsite and found a suitable place, telling everyone to wait as he cast magic wrap and then weight magic to lighten himself, lifting into the air and realizing that even without flashy powers, he could combine his modest skills creatively to fly, leaping from trees until he reached the sky. Though lacking control, he crashed violently and nearly lost consciousness, barely saving himself by reinforcing his body, realizing he would have died without enhanced strength. He returned injured at night, joking he had simply jumped too high, but class reps scolded him harshly for being reckless and not informing them, though he distracted the mood by suggesting juice from berries, and she stormed off while the same girl later returned asking again for juice. The next morning, they discovered a missing classmate, and soon a massive uruk appeared, causing panic as everyone fled and even climbed over Haruka to escape before finally emerging from the forest and seeing mountains blocking their path. So friend, if you enjoy this anime and want next part, so don't forget to like the video and subscribe the channel now.